Good morning. My name is Brooke Porter-Coles from the Department of Workforce Services. We are ready to begin this morning's press briefing for the Unemployment Insurance Claims Report from the week of July 19 to 25. We are going to welcome Kevin Burt up. He's our Unemployment Insurance Division Director, and he will talk through the numbers and what the state of unemployment is in Utah right now. Thanks.
Good morning. As Brooke mentioned, this is the unemployment insurance claims data from July 19th through July 25th. There are some incredibly positive numbers, so I will spend some time with the numbers, but there's also two pretty significant changes that claimants and employers will experience that I do want to dedicate most of the time to, so that they understand the changes that are coming with the unemployment insurance program. But to start, we ended last week with 6,057 claims. That is actually down 1,000 claims compared to last week, or down 14%. So that is a positive indicator, and as we go through the data, every unemployment program actually last week saw a reduction in new claims. Also, we ended the week with 83,716 continued claims. Remember, unemployment insurance is week to week to week, and so the continued claims is a good indicator of how many people are continuing to need that benefit. So 83,716 continued claims. That trend continues as the continued claims is down for 12 consecutive weeks. Keep in mind that continued claims peaked at the early part of this pandemic in May 2nd. It peaked at 126,000 individuals that were needing the unemployment benefit. So you can see it has gone down over 40,000 individuals, which is a sign that economic activity, certainly in some industries, is starting to resume, and individuals who needed the unemployment benefit because their employment was disrupted used it correctly, and then returned to work and were able to get that stability in unemployment, but then find that longer stability in employment. So specifically, remember, there are 3 primary unemployment programs right now as a result of the CARES Act introducing 2 new federally funded benefits. The first one is the traditional state unemployment benefit. That is the largest number. We have 3,700 new claims for the traditional state unemployment benefit. To provide some context to that number, at the beginning of this pandemic on April 4th, we saw our highest number of weekly claims, and that was 33,000 new claims. And so this week we are at 3,737. It is still a high number, but it is the lowest number since before the pandemic began. And to have some context, in 2019, the average new claims was about 1,100 a week. So it is still about 3 times higher, but at one time we were at nearly 20 times higher at the early stages of this pandemic. And again, their continued claims is at 74,903. And that number is also down for 12 consecutive weeks. The pandemic unemployment assistance is the temporary federally funded unemployment assistance for those that are self-employed or gig workers and saw their employment interrupted due to this pandemic. That number is also down. We saw 1,307 claims, and it is down 12.4%. That number is also down for 4 consecutive weeks, meaning the new claims for that pandemic unemployment assistance is also down for 4 consecutive weeks. And we also saw continued claims go down about 8% for that, or about 18% for that program. So again, many are moving in the right direction. The last unemployment program is the Pandemic Extended Unemployment Compensation. Unemployment insurance, remember, is based on the wages earned and that you lost employment through no fault of your own. So at time of application, we will look at your wages that you have earned and determine how much you will receive a week, as well as how many weeks of unemployment you can receive. The max number of state unemployment benefits an individual can receive is 26 weeks. With this pandemic lasting certainly longer, and certainly it's not resolved, the CARES Act introduced a 13-week extension that is fully federally funded. So individuals that are receiving the state benefit that hit that max number of weeks, which we call exhausting that benefit, will transition into up to a 13-week extended benefit. There is no need for an application for that benefit. If you are receiving it and you exhaust your state benefit, you will transition into that 13-week extension, and you'll just need to continue to file your weekly claims. That number is about the same. It did go down this week by about 4%, but that number has been hovering around 1,000 a week. And that's, again, somewhat expected because this pandemic has lasted. We're coming into month 5, and so individuals that were unemployed for perhaps prior to this pandemic have exhausted their state benefit and have been transitioning into this 13-week extension. It is important to remember those that have transitioned into this 13-week extension, there is no additional benefits after that. So individuals should be focused, certainly if they're in that time period, on looking for stability in employment, as some industries have certainly seen some economic activity and growth, as evidenced by the decrease in continued claims in the 5.1% unemployment rate in the state of Utah. Another number that we do track and like to share is that how many people were receiving the benefit and through no issue with the case stopped asking for the benefit for 2 consecutive weeks. That number last week was 5,292. And what that means is more people are getting off the benefit than are coming on the benefit, and that's why that continued claim number is going down. So to date, since March 15th, the Department of Workforce Services has received a little over 263,000 unemployment claims. That is about the same number of claims that the Unemployment Insurance Division in the last 4 years combined. And also over that time period, the Department of Workforce Services has paid out over $1.2 billion in unemployment benefits to Utahns who saw their employment interrupted by this pandemic. $1.2 billion, to put it into context, that is more money that has been paid out by unemployment insurance in this, if you combine the last 7 years. So we've paid out more this year than we did in the last 7 years combined. So also, just for some more recent context, in 2019, we paid out about $150 million in unemployment benefits. So in 5 months, we paid out $1.2 billion, which is 7 years worth of benefits to provide that economic stability, to allow employers to respond to this pandemic, create a safe work environment for their employees, and provide a safe environment for their consumers, as well as allow employees to be able to stay home and stay safe that were furloughed, to try and curb the spread of the COVID-19. And now that unemployment insurance will see some significant changes, or has already started to see some significant changes. And so I'd like to get into that. Remember, unemployment insurance is a benefit that has existed for some time. It is a state administered with a federal partnership program, and traditionally, unemployment insurance has never been intended to be a full replacement wage. In fact, in Utah, the average replacement, if you were unemployed and you lose your employment, the average replacement wage you would find in unemployment insurance is about a 40 to 50% replacement wage. The thought is that, or the hope is that would provide some economic relief to individuals who are laid off through no fault of their own, but not provide stability to the point where they wouldn't re-engage back into the workforce. And so it was never intended to be a full replacement wage. Now, the COVID-19 was very different than your average recession for 2 reasons. One, the nation and the state was asking people to stay home. And so individuals who were asked to stay home could not be able to successfully do that or be asked to do that with only 40 to 50% of those replacement wages. And so the CARES Act was introduced at a federal level, increasing that benefit by $600 a week for those that were eligible. And what that did is it resulted in most individuals who are on unemployment receiving a full replacement wage so that they could stay home and stay safe. The other thing that it did is it allowed employers who had to close, that had expectations to bring everybody back, allowed them to furlough their employees so their employees could be okay, but they could close their business, adjust to the pandemic, and bring those employees back, and they wouldn't lose those employees because those employees lost or are only receiving a 40% replacement wage. Now, that $600 expired on July 25th. It expired across all programs. And so what will happen is individuals that receive a benefit beginning next week that were on continued claims will see about a 60% reduction in their unemployment benefit. They will continue to receive unemployment benefits, but it will be returned to its 40 to 50% replacement wage. Remember, anyone that files a continued claim this week, it expired on July 25th, that's $600, so last Saturday. So anyone that received a $600 or files a continued claim this week is reporting the activity that occurred last week. And what that does is it results in the individuals receiving that $600 because they were eligible for last week, and that was before the $600 expired. And so now that $600 has expired, so anyone that files a continued claim next week will not be eligible for that $600. It is a federally funded benefit that expired. And so there is it's not anything that anybody did incorrectly to their claim. There's not a need to contact unemployment insurance to ask about it. It just expired because that's when it was set to sunset. And so $600 will be removed. Individuals that applied for unemployment insurance this week, that is a new claim after July 25th, will also not be eligible for the $600 a week federal stimulus benefit. So please keep in mind that individuals will receive unemployment insurance, but beginning next week, most individuals will begin to see, or every individual that's on a continued claim will see that $600 not be a part of their weekly payment. The other thing that I'd like to announce is something that will affect both claimants and employers so that they're aware of this, is that during the pandemic, one of the things that we did is, again, we knew that a lot of people were being furloughed, that businesses were asking to be closed. And so what we did is we expanded the use of what are called job attachments, which supports a furlough. And so industries that were asked to close or required to close, or just the economic activity resulted in their closure temporarily, they wanted to retain those employees. And those employees that worked for those industries also wanted to return and work for that employer. And so what we did is we expanded what are called job attachments. And those job attachments allowed an individual to receive unemployment benefits, but also didn't require them to job search, because the hope and expectation was that this individual would return to the industry or to this specific employer that had furloughed them. And so we didn't want them to actively be seeking work, because the expectation is they would be able to return to the employer that furloughed them. And we added that based on the attestation of the customer at the time of the claim. The other reason we did it is that unemployment insurance is a tax paid for by employers. And so employers that lay off individuals have a claim against them. Remember, unemployment is an insurance program. So they have a claim against them, and what that'll do is it'll result in an increase in that tax rate the following year for those employers that do lay off individuals and their former employees qualify for unemployment insurance. Now, just like these employees were furloughed and expected to return and asked to stay home, these businesses were also asked to close. And so by doing the job attachment, what we're able to do is called socialization of the cost. So instead of having each of these employers that had to close see dramatic increases in their unemployment tax rate, we were able to take those funds and spread it across all 88,000 Utah employers. So each employer will see a small increase in their unemployment tax rate beginning next year, but no one would see significant increases in their unemployment tax rate in next year. Now, with that being said, Utah currently is at a 5.1% unemployment rate. We have seen continued claims drop for over 12 consecutive weeks. We have seen the lowest number of new claims that we have seen since this pandemic began, and it dropped over 1,000 last week. And in addition, we're about 5 months into this pandemic. So we have to start looking at if individuals are job attached and they have not returned in this type of economic activity that is returning, and it has been 5 months, will they actually return to the employer that has them job attached? And we have made the decision that beginning on August 15th, that job attachments based on self-attestation will expire. So what that means is individuals that are on an unemployment benefit that have attested that they are job attached will no longer be able to attest that. Their employer will have to provide information saying, yes, I do expect that person to return. Now, what would happen is an individual that is not job attached will begin to have to follow the rules of the unemployment insurance program to register for work, complete an online assessment, complete online workshops, and then every week that they do their weekly filing, they'll have to report 4 job contacts that they made during that week to continue to receive that benefit. And so that is the change that claimants will experience. The reason why we're notifying individuals now is because they will start to receive notices about this. So the changes to the claimant is that $600 will be removed beginning next week. And then next week you will get a notice that says, hey, on August 15th, you're going to have to register for work and start job searching and providing the job contacts that you made during that week in order to continue to receive that unemployment benefit. Now, the change to the employers that lose that job attachment, and if they lose that job attachment and have not been successful in bringing individuals back, now that will be benefit charges to them specifically rather than socialized cost. So employers need to understand that if they continue to not bring individuals back, those charges will now be will now affect their individual unemployment insurance tax rate. Now, the good news is that will not happen until calendar year 2022. But if you are an employer that has seen economic activity return or has the option to bring those employees back, the best way to avoid those unemployment charges or that tax rate going up is to bring these employees back that you do not want to lose. It's a great time for them as well because they are losing the stability that was found in unemployment with that $600 a week stimulus payment. So again, the $600 stimulus, the last for continued claims, will be paid out this week, and beginning next week, there will not be an ongoing $600 a week stimulus payment. And then also, beginning August 15th, job attachments based on self-attestation will not be accepted, and individuals will be asked and required to job search as well as register for work to be able to continue to receive that unemployment benefit. And employers can certainly ask for job attachments to allow their employees to continue on the benefit without being required to job search, because the expectation is that they will come back, but those benefit charges will affect their individual tax rate. And with that, I'll go ahead and open it up with any questions.
How is the unemployment? Any idea how much longer?
Okay, and so one of the questions was, how is the state unemployment trust fund holding up? How long can it continue to stand up in this economic downturn? And so I don't want to be an overly positive Pete, but we did talk about a lot of the benefits that have been going down and trending down. And also it's important to remember that unemployment rate in Utah is 5.1%. That's the second lowest in the nation. Now, also being a realistic Ryan, I have to also point out that certainly has been a challenge to the Unemployment Insurance Trust Fund in the state of Utah because of the sheer number of individuals that were impacted due to COVID-19. So one of the things that is a measure of the health of that trust fund, and keep in mind the trust fund is a tax paid for by employers to cover employees that are laid off through no fault of their own. All of those taxes are put in a state trust fund and cannot be used for anything else other than paying the unemployment benefit. It is not used in any administrative cost. Prior to the pandemic, the trust fund balance for the state of Utah was a little over $1.1 billion in unemployment benefits, or excuse me, in a balance of that trust fund. Now, I did mention that we have paid out $1.2 billion in unemployment benefits, but keep in mind the majority of those benefits are actually federally funded through the CARES Act. So an individual that applies for unemployment receives a state benefit or did the $600 stimulus. That $600 was fully federally funded. Individuals that received the pandemic unemployment assistance or the self-employed also were given a weekly benefit amount, and until the July 25th, that $600 weekly stimulus. Both of those payments are fully federally funded, and the pandemic extended unemployment is fully federally funded as well. So actually, to date, 69% of the benefits of the $1.2 billion that has been paid has actually been paid using federal dollars, not through the trust fund. So with that, we have paid out in state benefits around $380 million in unemployment benefits and about $840 million in federal benefits. Now, with the 5.1% unemployment rate, the positive news is we still have people working. We still have employers reporting wages, and we still have employers paying taxes. So we're able to replenish some of those expenses. So actually, Utah continues to be around $900 million in its unemployment trust fund solvency. So just to put it into context, across the nation, 9 states' trust funds have already gone insolvent, meaning their balance is zero, and they have asked for federal funds to continue to pay it out. 4 more trust funds or 4 more states' trust funds, they've already started the paperwork to ask for those funds because they expect to go insolvent rather quickly. And then 24 states combined have seen more than a 50% reduction in their trust fund balance. Utah's current trust fund balance is one of the 11 states that has not dropped by more than 25%. And we certainly don't want to count all our ducks right now as this is totally successful and we're through this pandemic, because we are not. Unemployment insurance will continue to provide support to individuals who are unemployed, but there are significant changes that individuals that have been receiving it thus far need to be prepared for and expect.
What impact
Yes. So the question is, can I reiterate what the job attachment ending, what impact that will have on the claimants? Now keep in mind that what will happen is individuals that are not job attached do not lose eligibility to unemployment insurance. You can continue to receive unemployment insurance if you remain unemployed. What happens is what you have to do to receive it changes. And so what will happen is individuals that are continuing to see a disruption to their employment due to this pandemic, what they'll get is they'll get a letter saying, hey, you need to register for work. And you'll go to jobs.utah.gov, you'll register for work. You'll be asked to complete an assessment. It's a simple assessment, all online, that kind of walks through your preparation for job search. Many individuals that are on unemployment, it's their first time on unemployment for quite some time, and the job market and how you apply for jobs has certainly changed. And so this online assessment will then recommend and require you to complete online workshops. that include interview, resume writing, and job search, networking, those types of activities that will help you be prepared in this new economic climate so that they can be prepared, or so you can be better prepared to be able to be successful in your job search. And then every week following that initial registration, assessment, and workshop completion, you have to report 4 new job contacts that you completed during the week in order to receive that unemployment benefit. It'll occur in your weekly claim. So when you file your weekly claim, as you have been doing, there'll be a new edition that says, please report your job contacts. Understand that you do have to complete those job contacts. We will make contact with those employers to see if the job contacts were completed. And if the job contacts were not made and the statements were fraudulent, that is a fraud overpayment where the individual will be required to repay any unemployment benefits that they received fraudulently. So there are economic activities in this pandemic. We're not acknowledging that the pandemic is over. What we're saying is that there are some industries that clearly after 5 months do not appear that they're going to return soon. And to continue to be job attached with the expectation that you will return to that employer is unrealistic. And there are industries that are thriving and growing and expanding. And so this will provide that opportunity for these claimants to switch and start looking and exploring other opportunities in this new normal with this pandemic, where some industries have been able to grow and adjust to this pandemic, while some industries will continue to lag behind. Keep in mind that the unemployment benefit is not just about the $600 or the payment. It is also time limited. Individuals can only receive so many weeks. So it's not just about how much replacement wages you get. There will come a time where it is fully exhausted and there are no more benefits for an individual. And so now is the time to start looking actively for work. And with that being said, we do want to advertise a workshop, an online, fully online workshop that is today at jobs.utah.gov, free for anyone that would like to attend. The latest number that I heard was over 80 employers will be available online for job applicants to directly connect to virtually in a safe environment, and they are offering jobs across many industries and thousands of jobs. So it's important to take advantage, full advantage of these opportunities. And so what we hope is that job attachment ending will encourage that, but it certainly does not make a person ineligible. The only thing that makes a person ineligible is not doing the job contacts as required to continue to receive the benefit. Yes, so the question is, well, what about an individual that is high risk? What is it that they should do? Well, a high-risk individual, again, has found some stability in unemployment insurance, and their employer, in many instances, perhaps has not brought them back because they're high risk. And while they've tried to create a safer environment in their workforce, perhaps it's not to the comfort or the ability of a high-risk individual to return. Remember, a high-risk individual can continue to receive unemployment insurance, but they will also see a reduction in their benefit as that $600 expires. And so what will happen is they will return to a 40% replacement wage. Also, high-risk individuals will still be required to job search. One of the most important, or one of the requirements of the unemployment insurance program is to be able and available for work. If an individual is not able or available for work, they are ineligible for benefits. That's why if an individual refuses work, oftentimes they will lose eligibility for the unemployment benefit. So they will be asked to do job search. Now, there are safe environments for those that are high risk. Perhaps there's teleworking environments where they could stay at home and continue to work. So they will have to look for jobs that provide a safe environment for their high risk situation and still do those job contacts. But again, there'll be a 40% replacement wage. One of the things that they will have to do is unemployment insurance has been used at the since this pandemic began in Utah early March, has been used as the stabilizer for anyone that saw disruption in unemployment. And as a result, many individuals didn't qualify for example, rent assistance. Rent assistance was you were not eligible if you were receiving unemployment benefits. The $600 a week also counted against your SNAP or your food assistance benefit, making many individuals ineligible for the SNAP food assistance program. Now with that benefit going away, what will happen is that 40% replacement rate will be there, but individuals are going to have to now seek that are high risk, especially this other safety net programs to help subsidize some of that lost income with that $600 going away. We encourage you to go to jobs.utah.gov to look at rental assistance, food assistance, medical assistance, heat assistance, child care assistance. All of those programs are available, and what they'll do is they'll help supplement some of that losses. But in the end, the most important stabilizer, or the most long-term stabilizer, of course, is employment. But jobs.utah.gov has over 25,000 jobs posted as well. And that's just with jobs.utah.gov. Not every employer advertises through our website, so there are jobs available, but it might be, again, in an industry that you have not worked in before, as that industry is having difficulty returning.